Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hey, hello. Let me share the notes. Okay, should we maybe wait another minute? That's 3 past. Um,
Yeah, that works for me.
Hi, ML. Okay. It's three
Hello, hello.
past. Right. No
Hey,
worries. So let's get started. So welcome everyone to the CDEvents working group. So I put again a link to the notes in the chat, and feel free to sign yourself in. So the main thing I put on the agenda for today is the 0.4 release,
yep.
but feel free to add things to the notes as we go. So as you know, we are getting ready to prepare to do our fourth release, which is exciting. I created a tracking issue based on what we did for 0.3 with a number of things that we need to do. Sorry, for the release. And the first thing is make sure all issues are resolved, so there are no outstanding things in the milestone. Then we have switching old versions, removing all the draft work in progress content, update the README, and yeah, a number of things. Create a tag, produce the release notes, update the website, prepare an announcement, which is already work in progress, then announce to the mailing list. And then as a follow-up, then we have to move main to the new dash draft release. So that's 0.5 dash draft. And then there will be some work to be done to update the various SDKs to support the new release.
Do we have a timeline for all this, or are we just thinking like whenever it gets done? Like I guess what's the goal to get this done by?
Right. So for the everything except for the SDKs, I would say, I would like to do it in the next few days. So this week, mainly so that we have the release out before CDCon.
All right, cool. And then including the release or the SDKs, what do you think the timeline is at? Is that a little bit more flexible just because it's multiple people maintaining that code base, or was there like a kind of an estimate of getting those updated as well? Because I know a lot of these features people are going to be wanting, right? Especially after we announce
Yeah.
it. So just kind of curious.
Yeah, so I don't have an estimate, but as you say, I mean, depends on demand, I would say. Like the Python SDK has been lagging behind. It's not up to 0.3 yet. But the Golang, the Java, and I think the Rust one as well, they are auto-generated from the schemas. So at least the baseline should be pretty straightforward to bring up. But because there are new schemas with new location for the links and everything, I'm sure there will be some extra work to be done.
Yeah, it's
But
kind of like my
again,
concern. Okay. All right, cool. All right. That at least gives me something to work with that I can at least take back to my team. But yeah, thanks.
sure. Um, right. So I think first thing, maybe we should check the milestone. Um, So the milestone includes three things still. I mean, the first one is this issue number 10, which I created very long time ago about linking produced events to consumed events. Right, so I went through the content and the discussion on that, and I think from a specification point of view, the solution that was implemented covers what was discussed there. There is one bit. So some part of the discussion was how basically about propagating headers and how propagating the context. How do we propagate things in cases where there is no necessarily an event between things, or if there is an event, maybe the component receiving the event and the one triggering the action, they are disconnected and may not share the context. So how do we want to go into the tools to make sure that this context is propagated and so forth? And I think in terms of propagation, I mean, there is still some work that we need to do. But I'm not sure that's necessarily something in the specifications, maybe more like documentation,
Yeah,
recommendation, and things like that.
yeah. So my approach would be definitely documentation, but also allowing the SDKs to be flexible enough to where propagation can be easily handled. Whatever that looks like. This is more like of a technical implementation than it is a specification. Um, so we will need to think about that when we start implementing the links inside of the SDK. So whenever that starts happening, like when you and Jalander or whoever else that maintains those SDKs starts thinking about that, loop me in because I have some ideas based off of because I've done a little bit of work with open telemetries like SDKs and whatnot. So I have a little bit of context here
Mhm.
that I might be able to help with.
Okay, cool. So I guess my question for this specific issue was um, how to deal with this basically. So we can either move it to 0.5 or we can close this one and open a new one, link it to
This
this
one,
one.
yeah, this one looks a little large. I need to read through it just to make sure that I understand everything that's in there. And then if it looks like we can close it, I can go ahead and close it. But if it looks like there's still more work to be done, then I think we can just move it to a different milestone. But yeah, I'll
Mhm.
do that. I'll do that today after this meeting. I'll go through and read it because,
Yeah,
like I said, I haven't, it's been a long time since I've
yeah,
looked at this. So yeah, let me go ahead and do that later today.
yeah, sure. Yeah. So my impression is, as I went back also, I didn't remember. So I read this um, a couple of days ago, and yeah, my impression was that the only outstanding thing really from in this is the propagation part. But yeah, I'm happy to discuss.
Yeah,
I mean, after you
if
reviewed it.
I could let me do a one pass on it, and then if what you're saying does line up, then I think what we can do is close this issue, open a new issue somewhere, maybe not in spec, maybe in all the SDKs, and talk about or maybe in community, wherever it's most appropriate, about just strictly propagation through the SDKs and tools, and figure out a good path from there. That probably makes the most sense, to be honest.
Okay. Um, is it okay for now until you done your review, Ben, if
Yeah,
I
just to
move
move
this
it.
to
Yeah. Yeah, I think
0?
so.
Okay. All right. Then we have this update test run Qt JSON to replace URL with URI. So I think we pinged Owen a couple of times about revising this, but he has not replied in the last few days. So I don't think this is something that should block 0.4. My proposal would be to move it to 0.5. Basically, just to give you some more context, this is just it's renaming in the test suite run Qt. It's renaming the URL field to URI. And this was delayed in the beginning because we had some discussion about doing deprecations or not and how to do them. I think we still need to clarify how deprecation will be done, but on the other side, until we are in 0 dot something version, it's probably not something that we need to worry too much about it. Also considering that the main consumer for these events is TestCube right now, and Oleg said this was okay for
Yeah,
him.
I'm also under the same impression since we're still very early. We're not even 1.0. I think breaking changes, if we can avoid them, great. But we shouldn't spend too much time on it because we're so early on. We want to be more quick than slow. So definitely, I think just renaming these fields. However, we might want to do another pass just to make sure that any new events that got added do not have URL in them as well. And then where else, renaming might make sense as well. Like I know we had some things with camel cases and snake case, so that might be a good idea to start thinking about, changing those as well. So,
Mhm.
so yeah, there's a few things that could potentially be in the same bucket.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. So would that be okay then to do that kind of whole bucket into 0.5?
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
we
think
have
0.5 is a good one. And then what we can do too is when we announce 0.4, we can maybe, or when we start thinking about planning 0.5, we could say that 0.5 is going to have some breaking changes. Announce that, and then announce that there's more of quality of life, make sure things are consistent and named. So I think that's appropriate because if it's just one version that has all the breaking changes, then that might be a little bit easier for people to migrate and then do
hmm,
whatever whatever updates they need to do.
that's a good point. And this is the issue related to the other PR, so I'll just move it along. Okay, cool. Um, yeah, I like the idea of having all the breaking changes in one PR. Sorry, in one release. So that's a good point. Okay, and like magic, now the milestone is empty, which is great. I made a PR for switching all the versions. So I use the event versions and spec release tools to basically go and change all the versions across the board. So if you have a look at the changes, everything that was dash draft is now without the dash draft. And that includes the markdown files, the schemas, as well as the events. So this was kind of scripted change. It's the same type of script I used before, so I think it's fairly safe. The only change I had to do this time was to include the custom schema that wasn't there before. And links, they don't need this because they are kind of isolated. So they're kind of chunks of schemas.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think so they don't have a draft version in there that needs updating, right? So there was no extra work here to be done for these. Yeah, so I think um, if we can merge this PR, then
Yeah,
the
I'll look at that today, and then from the looks of it, if it's just all code generated, it looks good. But I want to do one quick pass just to make sure. I'll also do that after this meeting as well. I'll make this like a CD events day, just get everything done.
cool. Thanks, Ben. Um, Finally, there is another PR that we'll prepare today. It's just a small thing to update the README. So in the README here, we have at some point we say that the latest version is 0.3. So this will have to go to 0.4. So I'll just make a small PR for that. Yeah, and then once all those are done, I can basically create a tag and produce the release notes. I think GitHub automation has got pretty nice for that, so it's not too much work. And then we'll make a PR to make sure that the website is also updated. So most things are in progress, so hopefully we can sort this out in a few days. And then the other thing is the announcement. I still need to do my part on this one, but thanks for putting so much context in this already. So I wanted to do some part on the artifact registry and customizable events and review the sections that have already been filled. So I haven't not done yet, but I'll do that in the next 1 or 2 days. Was there any other comment from anyone on this? Yeah, go
Yeah. I
ahead.
was just kind of curious, like, so this announcement, right? So I was confused on like where this announcement was going to be. Was this announcement going to be like I wasn't sure if this was going to be like a GitHub release, like this was the release note. So I didn't know whether or not to put like the technical, like some technical like examples or whatnot, or if
Mm.
this was like an email like announcement. So I was like, I'll just wait until I know more to figure out what the
Yeah.
scope of this announcement is before I fill in any more. So I only added a paragraph, but wanted to get a little bit more context.
Right. So the plan for this is to have a blog post that is going to be on the CDF Foundation blog.
Ah, cool. Okay.
But we can also have different version of the announcement for the mailing list or things like that. But I was planning actually to if we have the blog post because Roxanne has everything lined up, so she's just waiting for us to, finalize the content. So once we have then the blog post, we can also refer to the link to the blog post when we make an announcement on the mailing list and Slack and so
Okay,
forth.
cool. Okay, cool. So on the blog post, because I want to be consistent, is it usually how detailed is usually a feature on the blog post? I just want to make sure that I'm not going like too deep.
Um, I mean, for the release announcement, I would not go too deep because I think otherwise it becomes, too long and
Yeah.
maybe. But we could then have a follow-up blog post with more
Yeah,
details
examples or
on
whatnot.
the examples and I don't know example architecture things like that for the link specific if you wanted
Yeah.
to, for
That's what
instance.
I wanted. Okay, cool. Because because I feel like there's a lot of questions that people are going to have when they just read the high level feature, and I wanted to, like I was like, oh, it's like saying like, oh, events are now connected. People are going to be like, oh, how are they connected? How is the infrastructure going to look like? So I know there's going to be a lot of questions. So I wanted to have. I wasn't sure if I should go in depth in this release notes, but it sounds like we should still keep it, pretty light and then have a follow-up blog post like you were just suggesting. I think that makes perfect sense. And that's probably a strategy we should go for. Okay, I'll follow up with you after this, Andrea, and we can kind of start thinking about, or we can plan for, um, how the timeline for that. I don't know if I have to talk to someone specific like Roxanne, because you said she was like part of the blog, handling the blog. But I just want to make sure that that gets properly allocated, because like I said, like I know a lot of people are going to have questions just by reading just the high level of it.
Okay. Yeah. The other thing oh, looks like our website is down. It's not nice. Okay, I need to check this. Didn't get any notification about this, but I think we have a blog, or we can have a blog on the CDEvents domain as well. So I need to check why this is down now.
No, it works for me. Give me
It
one
worked for
second.
you.
Yeah, let me make sure that's not like cached. But it looked like it worked for me. So okay, yeah, it looks like it was cached, I think.
Says your connection is not secure. No. Interesting. Maybe.
Oh
So
no,
do
it
we
pops up.
explain?
Yeah. So it's up. So I think it's just on your end, Andrea.
Okay. Yeah, or maybe some native I was doing something. It's yeah, it's coming.
Seems to be
Okay.
working for me as well.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, the blog is not enabled yet. But what I was going to say is that it is possible to have an extra
Link
blog
there. Yeah.
in here. So because the CD Foundation blog is this, and of course we have announcements, and there is like a certain number of CDEvents related things. Is it my internet that is not working? But I'm talking to you, so it should be working.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there are like announcement and things like that. But a possibility could be if you wanted to have like more in-depth articles specific to CDEvents, we could also enable the blog function on the CDEvents website. Just to give you an example, like we have protect on a similar template, and
Gotcha.
there is a blog, and then it looks like this, and you can have like more detailed blog post, with technical content.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I do like that. Yeah, like I said, I'll ping you after, Andre, and we can kind of figure out like where it should live, and the scope of it and all that. And kind of go from there. But yeah, it's like a side note anyways, but yeah, thank you for giving me the context of this announcement, so I can now at least write the whatever else I want to update to be sufficient.
All right. Cool. So you have that's I think everything that I had on the release. I see you had added a new point, Ben.
Yeah. So I started working on an internal doc, which is going to go out here, but I just want to kind of give you guys some context on what it is and what kind of the plans are. So right now, the docs just talks about CDEvent and events, and kind of the what constitutes as a good CD event. So basically, we have all these proposals coming in with new event types and so on and so forth. So I wanted to make a doc, because right now we have nothing that says these list of criterias, if it satisfies this, makes a good candidate for a CD event, right? And my concern primarily was, right now it seems like we're a little bit open. Like we're a little bit, we don't really know like what makes a good CD event just yet. We have some ideas, right? We think interoperability, but interoperability is so open, and it can mean, like so many different things depending on, like if you're just talking about, oh, do you mean just the messaging? Oh, do you mean the tooling? Right. So I wanted to create something a little bit more concrete. So when people are thinking about creating an event, obviously this doc is not going to cover every event, but it's going to say these are probably some good guidelines to start thinking about. If your event satisfies these number of criteria, then it'll make a good CD event, and kind of go from there. So I just want to kind of let you know, and kind of get that discussion going, because the one thing that I want to make sure is that we draw a good line on what is useful versus what is ideal, like what is practical versus ideal. So, like right now, CDEvents is still in the early stages, and we want to make sure that any event that we take in is not an ideal event. And what I mean by ideal is that it's an event that it's an abstract event that looks good on paper, but is impossible for tooling, for instance, to send out, or very difficult for tooling to send out. So I just want to make sure, these criteria is listed, and is documented. So it gives people at least something concrete to work with. And kind of like give like thought exercises. It says, okay, if you're introducing a new event, how do you envision tooling to send out this event? Kind of start thinking about it from like an actual implementation standpoint as well. So that's kind of like the point of this doc, and I think it'll just be helpful as a thought exercise for all of us as well.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Cool,
So
cool. Yeah, I'll
looking forward to
share.
it.
Yeah, I'll probably share it. I don't know if it needs to be a PR. I'll probably just submit it as like a Google Doc, maybe as a first iteration,
Yeah.
or a HackMD, and then we can first chug away on that, and then figure out what a good place for it to live is. Maybe it does make sense in the spec because it is about the spec. Maybe like under the README or something like that. But I first want to, one, I need to, finish writing it, and then second, I want to kind of like, give it a few people that are actually looking or that are implementing and using CDEvents also internally here at Apple, to give their understanding on what makes a good event. So I want to make sure that I get everyone's, everyone at least internally on my end, to, give in case I missed anything. And then expect the stock maybe on Thursday or Friday. And I'll have a just a HackMD or something to share with you guys.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Ben. Yeah, sounds like a good idea. I think yeah, we have things like the primer, which are not like specification, but documents about CDEvents and how to use them and stuff. So I think that the kind of content you're creating might be a good fit to complement the primer, or that kind of extra documentation, which is really good when you, as I said, when you actually go and implement, or having that part in mind, like implementation in mind. So
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think primer makes total sense too. So yeah, that works for me.
yeah, cool. So anything else folks wanted to chat about today?
I didn't have any too much. Yeah, that's pretty much it on my end.
All right.
Everyone, yeah, because like everyone's was on, like, because we work with a lot of people from Europe as well. Like, we have a lot of teams in Europe, and so like everyone was out last week, and so like yeah, so it wasn't too busy of a week, for me at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah. Cool. Then we can keep it a bit short today.
I have a question. Sorry, Andrea. So
Yeah.
I'm just wondering about the next week, Monday. Is CDCon is it starting Monday or Tuesday, or when is CDCon? I mean, is the meeting gonna happen next week, we think, or who will be on CDCon?
Right. That's a great question. Open source summit.
Because I will not be there, so I could of course facilitate if people come. No problem at all.
Yeah, and I don't think I got approval as well, because Apple's still pretty strict on who can travel right now. So
So I think So the 16th is
That's Tuesday, right? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Tuesday. Yeah. So I will be traveling on Sunday, I think. So on Monday I will be in Seattle already. So yeah, I should be able to join.
Cool. Then we have it as planned. Perfect.
Yeah, I think that's good. So if there is anything else, any last bit that needs to be clarified for before the announcement, maybe we sort it out this week. Let's see. All right. Cool. Then good to see everyone, and till next time. Have a good week.
Yeah, you too. And then I'll make today's
Same to
CD
you.
event week. All right. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Talk to you
Yeah,
later.
good weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.